And officially, good afternoon and good evening, and I don't know if it's quite morning. If you're in Europe, it's actually very early morning, I think, or pretty darn close
About
to it.
midnight, yeah.
Midnight or just past that, right? And anyway, so this is day 3 of our summer education. We gave a lot of the instructors a little break from their normal teaching routine, as they normally would do, and to do other things, and get a lot of other things accomplished during this week. Um, and we'll tell you about some announcements next week that's happening and an email that you're going to get. So if I forget, someone say, don't forget to announce what's happening next week or in the near future. We got something really cool that we're going to do a very limited series, sort of a education, if you will, that we've never done on Zoom. Oh, so with that said, today I am featuring, um, I am featuring, today I am featuring, today's class is the Estey and Easy Series Summer Edition Product Features class. And some of you, I think, might have been on my other 2 classes, and that's okay. There's going to be some overlap, but I'm going to cater to these instruments. But I like to get warmed up a little bit with some music, so I've got the instrument all set up, ready to go. And let's see, let me look at my angle there. Okay, I think I'll just have to sit off to the side, so if you want to see what I'm doing here. Okay, here we go. Start off with some music first. And the crowd roars, or is that just me roaring? Well, and did you notice I made a couple oops in there? I haven't played that song in a while. By the way, that style, for those of you who have the Freedom 3, that style is called groovy Latin. On some of the Lowry models, it's actually called a go-go.
I never
All right.
thought to play that song with that rhythm. That sounds fantastic. I really like that.
Yeah, Yellow Bird. I learned that song years ago, and I never really played it after that. And then lately, I said, I used to play this song. This was a kind of a fun song. Only I forgot some of the chords while I was playing that. Now, that was a fun style, wasn't it? Let's talk about rhythm styles. I started this in all my workshops this week, and it'll be a little bit different for these models, which is great because I'm going to get to feature some styles I haven't all week. Now, think about when you first started the hobby. Most people that start the hobby at Fletcher Music Centers, I know I've been doing this for about 30 years now, it'll be 30 years next year. And over 95% of the people I've met that started the hobby of music making, most of the time they got excited by the fact that they heard with, like what I put there, with one button, one note, Now that's happening. All I did is press one note. Absolutely amazing, right? And so you imagine someone who's never played, or maybe have little or no music experience, or maybe they did, but it's been a long time since they tried putting their fingers on some keys. And they hear that for the first time. Now, you guys aren't as, I mean, I'm sure you're impressed, but you're probably not as wowed because you're spoiled. You hear us doing it all the time. You have an instrument similar to that, right? But imagine the first time someone hears something like that up close and personal. They go, wow. And what usually happens immediately is a little bit of belief that, hey, I can do this. And so that's one of the first things that I learned 30 years ago. I was told by some of my managers and people that have been doing the business for all, they said, first thing you have to do is impress. If you're going to try to get someone to become a new student, you got to, first of all, impress them with something wow and make sure it looks very simple so they instantly think, hey, I can do that. Okay? And and it all starts with the rhythm styles. Now, the beauty of the rhythm styles on all of the Lowry models and all the SEs and all the models is that the rhythm styles are in the same place on virtually all of the models. This is my right, your left, on the left side. And if you notice, these are all labeled in blue. And so for many years, we referred to them as rhythm and blues. And it was kind of an easy way to remember where are the rhythm styles at, right? And all of the models, they have a lot of similarities. Some have more than the others, what have you. But the beauty is rhythm styles is where all the magic happens for playing our favorite songs. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit on some of the models and showcase some of my favorite rhythm styles and just hopefully show you different ways of playing the rhythm styles. And if you have a similar model, hopefully you'll think catch one thing a little bit differently today. So when you first turn on any of the instruments, none of the styles are on, all right? But typically, when you turn it on, there's a button that comes on called Style Setup, okay? Or if you have an Estey, it's called Auto Setup, okay? And all that simply means is this, and this is very important to know, is that when you select a rhythm style, country, mellow, Latin, rock, three-quarter, ballad, gospel, okay? When you select one of those styles and you have the style setup or the auto setup on, what that means is it'll automatically set up that instrument to play for that style. Now, just out of curiosity, and anybody randomly can unmute and respond. So when you think of country music, what kind of music instruments do you think of?
Guitar.
Guitar. What else? Fiddles.
Harmonica.
Harmonicas. Okay.
Banjo.
If I say Latin, what kind of instruments do you think of?
Drums.
Okay, percussion. You say drums, percussion, but in a lot of music, there's a lot of percussion, right? Like bongos and those sort of percussions. What else? Vibraphone, maybe? And what is it? There's like a mallet or marimba. How about big band or swing? What kind of instruments come to mind?
Saxophone.
Okay. Anything else? Clarinet. I think I'm reading somebody's lips. I think they said clarinet. Trombone, trumpet. Now think about it. We just picked 3 different styles of music, and for the most part, we came up with different answers for each one, right? So when I started playing music years ago, I started actually, technically, I could say I started playing the piano when I was 15, all right? And then I stopped playing the piano when I was about 15. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. Because a piano, you either play it or you don't. There aren't any betweens, right? And then I got a guitar, and at the time, I was 16, that was in the late 80s. If you played it loud, you were considered good. And guess what? I was great. I knew how to follow. Eventually, I learned to play it. and I got in a band. And we weren't, we didn't have high equipment, and we weren't, pros and had money coming out of, our wallets so we could have all this fancy equipment and hire all these sound check people. But whenever we got to play in the clubs and the bars, you had to go set up and do a sound check, and I was the sound check guy, and I had to go out into the crowd not in the crowd where the crowd would be, and my guitar cord was long enough that I'd stand way back, and the drummer was doing the bass player and the other musicians, and then I'd have to run back to the mixer board, and then I have to adjust it, and I got to go back in here. So I was the guitar player and the sound guy. And then you had to contend with, I can't hear myself in the monitors, or the bass is not low, and then you had to deal with the musicians. And you had to get it all balanced right so when the people in the crowd hear the music, it sounds okay to them. It doesn't have to sound okay to us on the stage of the monitor, although that helps. What's important is what the crowd hears. Well, that's what style setup and auto setup does, is it not only gives you the right sound, or I'm going to say the right sound, the appropriate sound or instrument for that style of music. Now, like we said, in swing or big band, we said trombone and saxophone and clarinet. Well, it may choose one of those or sometimes both, right? But it not only does that, but it also balances. It gives you the right balance according to a standard industry. Okay, so and when I put on that groovy Latin over here, and all those musicians were playing in the bass and the drummer and the percussion, that was all balanced. So when I played, you could hear the melody. Okay, and that's the same on all of the models. Actually, all of the models that have that feature. Now, having said that, the right balance isn't going to always be the right balance for you because we all have different ears. And I've heard this many times over the years, especially when there's two members in a household that plays. Okay, and you got the spouses, they both do, you got the spouse, husband and wife, they're playing, and one plays and they say, he turns up the bass all the time. I hate the bass really loud, or he has the highs too high, the trumpet is so loud a melody, and sometimes the other one is like, I need to hear the bass more, I like to hear the drummers more. Everybody's ears are different. Those can all be altered to some degree, okay? But if you're using the auto setup or the style setup, just know that it starts off with initial setting. If you want a little bit more drums, a lot of them have an individual drum volume, okay? And there's a picture of a drummer on here, and you can increase the volume. You can increase it, but you don't have to increase these volumes too much, because if you do too much, it goes out of whack, okay? But back to the rhythm style. So if you select a rhythm style, it automatically sets it up. Now, starting with our very first basic model, this is the Discovery 3 by Estey. We created this instrument. Fletcher Music Center owes the name. The Easy 1 and the Easy 2 are very similar in nature, for those of you who happen to have those models. Very similar layout. You turn it on. In this case here, you get 8 categories of music. I love what we did with this model because we gave 8 of the best, totally different styles of music that you can think of. You got your standards, which is like your big band and your swing. You have your country, totally different than, right? You have mellow, rock, march, and polka. This style is designed that you can play marches and polkas. A Latin and a ballad, and then of course you need to have a 3/4. I don't think I've ever seen an organ in my career that had rhythms on it that did not have a 3/4. Almost every organ has it. And some of the, as the instruments progress, some of them sound a little more elaborate and fancy, but worst case scenario, we always have a 3/4 to play our songs in 3/4. And it's pretty simple. If you just turn it on, and we'll just go to the country. You just turn it on, put on your country, auto setup, everything's set up, and it sets it up.
1, 2.
All right. Now, if you noticed, again, now this is a feature that some of you may be familiar with. You probably have it, and be surprised how many times people know they have this feature, they used it before, and over time they don't use it as much. But I always say to use it, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a little bit, but it's the intro ending button. I love the intro ending button because it does a few things for you. It not only sets the mood for you to play the song, but it really gives you time to hear the beat, get your hands ready to play the song. I've often heard a lot of students, they'll pick a song and they'll have the tempo set up at what they think is right for them or they're used to playing it at. And what they'll do is they'll just start playing the song instantly without the intro. And what happens is sometimes right in the first two measures, they're a little bit off beat or they have like it takes 2 to 3 measures to adjust. Because what's happening is you start playing at the beat that you think it is, and then as you're playing, then they're trying to adjust, and then after a while they kind of hear the beat and then they adjust and they catch up. Have you ever heard any band and then sometimes before the song starts you hear the drummer go 1, 2, 3, 4? Right? Reason for that is because the band's going to start right at the same time, and if they all started with a different timing in mind, that's not going to sound good. So you will see that a lot. I just saw a rock concert last Thursday in Phoenix, and I can't tell you how many times before the song started, the band started playing the song, the drummer counted out the beat, so they knew, the guitar players and the bass players all knew. Well, with an introduction, it gives you time to hear that. So it's a simple thing, but it's really a big thing too. So if I'm playing a song and I adjust it to the tempo that I want, I'll play one more here and then we'll do a couple others here. One of my other favorite styles on this one here is the ballad. It gives me like a 50s feel. So if I want to play a song like Can't Help Falling in Love or something like that, you can hear the beat. And it gives you time. Yay, big round of applause. Okay. Now, of course, the endings are great too, because then when you put on the ending, it gives you the real nice professional ending for the song. And a lot of songs actually start off with introduction first before the singer plays. But I'll tell you, if you watch a live band, you'd be surprised how many times that drummer counts out first before they even do the introduction. So introductions and endings is great. You're always going to sound great in the beginning and in the end. So in the middle, you're kind of on your own, right? But it's also a great way to kind of get ready. And if you find a tempo doesn't work, set it, put the intro back on, and set it. Now, I'm going to come back to intros and endings in just a moment. I want to talk a little bit more about rhythm styles. So on the Discovery 3, it's pretty simple. We have 8 styles listed on here. You heard them all. On the Easy 1 and 2, actually, I'll start with the Easy 1 in case there's somebody out there. It looks similar to this. I think there's 6 categories, all right? And then it has what's called a pianist. Okay? Now, a pianist is basically a variation of that style. Okay? So, what a lot of companies have done over the years is when they added rhythm styles, if you go back in the 70s, if you needed another rhythm, they just added another button. Well, the more rhythm buttons you put on there, the more buttons you have, the bigger the organ's got to get, right? Well, when technology advanced to the point, they said, why don't we put one button that does multiple things? All right? So, as an example, on the Easy 4 here, and I'll relate to the 1 and the 2 as, in a second, but in the Easy 4 here, and the Easy 10 is similar, you have, in this case, 8 categories of music. You have standards, country, smooth, rock, traditional, gospel, Latin, and 3/4. On the Easy 1, there's 6 of these. On the Easy 2, there's also 6 of these. On the Easy 10, I want to say that there is 12 of these. Okay? Don't quote me on that, but somebody, if you're near an Easy 10, you can look and tell me. All right? So, if you have 6, 8, or 10, or 12, then naturally the answer is I have 6, 8, 10, or 12 styles, right? Simple. However, that's not enough. So what Lowry did on some of the models is they put a pianist button. So if you have a pianist button, what happens is all of those styles then become another style. Okay? And I call it a variation, but it's exactly what it's doing. So when you first turn on any of the Lowry Easy series and you select one of these, here we have a button called full band. On the Easy 1, it's automatically in full band mode. It's automatically in full band mode here. In the Easy 2, it's automatically in full band. All of the Easies are. But if I select the pianist, what happens is every one of these styles becomes another totally different style. So one button transforms them into, and it doubles the style. So for example, I'll go to the country end here, and I'm just going to keep it in the full band, and I'm going to put on my intro to set the mood. Let's see if I could do this upside down. So there's your country. You can play your song. I wouldn't play it upside down. I don't. Am I on C here? Your ending, or so we'll stop it. Now if I put on the same country and I put pianist and intro, now it becomes a totally different country style. Now pianist means this, is that every one of these, when I put it on the pianist mode, is going to start off initially with a piano player being the predominant sound. Okay, and then you hear a little bit of a bass in there, but it's going to be basically mostly a piano playing in that style of music. So listen. Whoops, I was trying to do this upside down, but I guess I can't. Galleon effort. And then you're seeing it live for the first time. I've never tried it upside down until today, and I failed miserably. But that's okay. I'm having fun. That's what it's all about.
It's like when you're right-handed and you try to write with your left hand for a day.
That's exactly
it just doesn't go well.
Now, if I did it that way, I might have actually done it a little bit differently. So if I put on guitar, now there's one other mode called guitarist. I would call it another variation. So all of these are going to shift to another style. Okay. Now, one thing that I mentioned on the pianist, this applies to both pianist and guitarist. is they start off initially with either a piano being the main sound or the guitar. But if you want to turn it into a full band type sound, all you have to do is increase your drummer. All right, now let's listen. Oh wait, that's not country. Let me go back to the country. Since I was doing the piano, so I want you to hear the other version of the country. Here we go. All right. So it's mainly guitar. If I bring in the drummer, now you kind of more of a band. Let me speed it up a little bit. Let me see if I can do this one more time. Warning, I'm not going to try that the entire show. So that was just an example of the country category. So what's great about those styles is that each one of those, depending on the instrument you have, in this case it has 3 versions of each category, or the Easy 1 I believe has 2, and the Easy 2 has 3, okay? And then on the Freedom 3, for you Freedom 3 people, they have variations as well, but because it's a different brand, they label them a little bit differently.
Can I ask a question?
No, just kidding.
Please, please.
Just
Okay.
kidding. Who's asking? Let me see.
Sherry.
All right. Where are you?
Hi. No, I'm not here.
Oh,
I
okay.
am here. All right, fair enough. I'm here.
There you are.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I have the Lowry Cadet Easy 3.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the question. If I go country,
Uh-huh.
okay, and I go pianist and guitar, in the screen, it says Rinky Tink, and then it has the train. So here's the question.
Okay, well,
If
let me
I-
back up. Let me make sure I'm
Go ahead.
following you. Okay, so you selected the country button,
Correct?
and then you pressed which one? Full band, pianist, or guitarist?
No, well, my pianist guitarist is one button.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So that being said, one button.
Right.
The first one, would that be Rinky Dink Tink? Would that be predominantly the pianist?
That would be the pianist one.
Right.
So
And if I move,
it shows one on top and the next one on the bottom?
correct. So
So
if I scroll down to the one on the bottom, the train,
Right.
that would be the guitarist.
Correct. So, having said that, because I haven't played an Easy 3 in a while, if that's the way it comes up on the screen, then the rest of the styles will be the same way.
Correct.
So, put another one on. Let me just verify that.
Okay, I did Latin.
Okay, so what does it say on top?
So top, it says piano, bossa nova,
Right.
and the bottom one says Latin guitar.
So it's going to be the same on all of the ones that you select. Yes.
Right. But depending on which one instrument I want predominant.
They're 2 different styles completely. All they did in that way is they showed them both on the screen.
Right.
So they're
Okay.
really 2 different styles altogether.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. They just put the buttons on that model. They put it that way, but it's the same way. They just put it in the screen. Okay.
Okay.
Good
Thank you.
question.
Some people
All
like
right.
to keep their instrument in the living room. Sherry keeps hers in front of the Eiffel Tower, it looks like.
Oh my
You
goodness.
like that one?
All right. So now on the Freedom 3, some of you Freedom 3 people, we have variations as well, but in this case here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so there's 9 categories. And when I press the standard, it says big band and boogie. So right now, I've got 2 categories that I could use. Actually, let me go back. If I push standard, it says swing time and gypsy jazz. Okay? And if I do that for every one of these, it's going to show 2 in there. All right? Now, I'm going to go back to the standards. Swing time and gypsy jazz. Now there's this styles 2 button. Think of it like a variation again. And then in the screen it says big band and boogie. So basically this one button represents 4. Okay? So for you freedom 3 people out there. So same concept, and there are actually some of the styles are guitarists and pianists, but they'll actually say it. So when I put on, for example, standards and gypsy jazz is actually a guitar bass style. Ooh. I played that one. I don't play a little. That's pretty cool. I haven't played that one in a long time. I forgot about that one. So, and et cetera, et cetera. So each one has variations. It's a good idea to go through them. At the end of this class, I'm going to come back to the styles and show you a little trick that really just enhances oh, my camera froze.
And it
Someone's
froze
calling me.
so
Someone's
perfectly,
calling
too.
me. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't get to screenshot that. That was good.
Sorry, and I forget to put it on airplane mode. There we go. All right. What was I saying? Okay. So, and I'll show you another way to use the same styles, and then maybe just give yourself a nice little different twist to using them for songs. Okay. So I'll close off with that. But now I want to talk a little bit about something that you all have. And there's 2 ways of looking, and some of you have 2 of these, both of these options, at least 1 or 2. All of the models that we're encouraged to attend today, easy 1, easy 2, easy 3, et cetera.
Robert, it's frozen again there.
My camera's frozen. Why is that? I know why. Because once I did what I did. All right. So all of the models have a feature that most of you know. It's called songs. And the songs play, okay? And they're designed to do just that. When you press the song, you can go scroll through, and when you find a song that you're curious about, you can press play. And it'll play the song. Stop it there. Now there's some of the models you can do this with, some are work a little bit differently. So since I'm on this one right here, if that song is playing, I can actually play along with it while it's playing, or I can let it play, or sometimes if I like the way that sets up, I can use that and just leave it there and then play the song myself. So you can use them for a couple ways. You can use it to play the song, play along with the song, hear the song just so you have an idea how the song goes. Now, some of the models have 10 songs, some have 20, some have 30, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously it has to be a song that you like. But the other thing is, so here's an example. I'm going to come over to the little guy here, and I'm going to put on, well, let's see here. It says Jingle Bells. Let me just play a little bit of Jingle Bells. Now, I like that. That sounds great. Kind of a rockin' Jingle Bells. But if I'm not in the mood to play Jingle Bells, but I like that setup, I can stop it and use it and play a totally different song. All right. See, so they was playing Jingle Bells. I stopped and I said, that's a cool setup. I'll use it, try a different song with it, which you can do. For you Freedom 3 people, you have the song feature as well, of course. But there's another little trick with this one. So let me pick a song. Let's see. Well, let's see. I played Love Me Tender a little while ago. Let me put it on here and see what happens. Okay, now I'm going to let it play first. Now, at any time, if I want to play along with the song, and if I have the music, it's helpful. There's a button that says melody off, and you can take over and play just a melody, and everything else will continue to play, the chords and everything. So let's see. But I play the melody. Notice the chord changed automatically. Pretty cool, huh? So there's multiple ways to use the song feature depending on the model that you have, okay? But initially I said one of the things you can do is you can use it to...
1, 2.
Whoop. I forgot to turn the song button off. And it'll go on to the next one for you too. All right. All right, sorry. What was I saying? Okay, so now if I wanted to play that song, I could stop it there and take the setup and just play the song myself. So the next feature that I know a lot of you have is song setup. Now song setup is different. Okay, it doesn't play any of the songs. All it does is it sets up the organ for you to play the song. The song feature is great because it plays the songs, but you can also use it for a setup. So if you've got both, you've got quite a few. Now, as an example, the Easy 4 has how many songs recorded in it, Sean? 20 or 30?
I believe that's 30.
30. So there are 30 recorded songs, all right? And there's 100 song setups. So technically, you have 130 setups, okay? Easy 3 has 100 song setups, I believe. I don't remember how many songs there are, but same concept, okay? Easy 2 has 20 songs only, but you could still use it for 20 song setups. On here, there's 100 song setups plus, I forget how many songs are on there, 30 or 40. But song setups are also great because if you have that feature, there's 100 titles. Now here's the mistake that most people make. They activate song setup by just pressing it like we would, and you scroll through the styles, and they look at them, they go, let's see, I'll read a few. Achy Breaky Heart, All the Things You Are, Alley Cat Song, Almost Like a Song, Oh How I... And as you're going through them, your mind is telling you, oh, that's a song I wouldn't mind playing. That's a song. No, that one I don't want to play. I want to play. And what happens is you end up selecting the ones that you think you're going to play. And then what happens is you miss out on some of the setups of the other songs that you won't play. So you're hearing it again here. I've said it many times. Select the song titles that you would normally not play and see if there's another song you can use with it. Okay? So for example, I'm going to put song setup on, and I'm going to scroll through and find a style that I normally would not play. Now, there's a lot of songs I would normally play. Let me just go through one. Like this one I never play in concert, ever whatsoever. Let's see. I play that one when I have the music. That's great. I guess I like a lot of these. Okay, here we go. No, I play that one a lot. How about? All right, now here's one that I play a lot, but I only play it around December. Okay, and I'm going to hit select, and I'm going to play a song. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song that's not the title of the song setup I got. Okay, so I found a song setup that I said I do play the song, but I usually play it around December. Hint, hint. Okay, but I'm not going to play that song. But it set it up perfectly for that song. But I'm going to try a totally different song with it. Okay, so here we go. Ooh, that was pretty at the end there. So, anybody know the song that I actually played?
Edelweiss.
Edelweiss, right? Pretty song. Anybody know what song setup I used to play that song?
What?
I pressed song setup and I was scrolling and it said Silent Night. So that setup was designed that if you played Silent Night, perfect. So what happens is you may have some song titles in there that if you find a song title, you go, I don't want to, that's not a song I would play. I don't even know it. You might want to just select it and listen to it and see if it's another song that you can play with it. Was there a question that came over in the chat? It went away before I could.
Yeah, it's Sherry.
What does it say? How would you make the predominant strings lower? Well, it depends on where you're hearing the strings. Because if it's coming
From the
from
song setup, it was this, when you played the song setup, there was a very loud predominant
This?
string, I think.
there,
Yes.
well, that's coming from the background. So if you're not playing and you hear something going on while it's playing, that's usually the accompaniment or the style, and you would just lower the volume is all.
But I don't want the melody. I wouldn't want the melody lower.
No,
So
they're
I
not
don't
turning
want
the
to
melody.
lower the whole song. I just want to lower that one predominant.
Yeah, I just told you. You lower the accompaniment.
Okay.
Because right there, I was using the background. So if you hear the background, And the easy series is called accompaniment.
Got it. I should
Okay?
have told you I have a lot of questions.
That's okay. You're allowed 3.
Well, okay, I'll be
After that, I
select.
start charging you.
Go for it.
I charge you $1,000 in virtual dollars.
It's yours.
Okay. Now, one other thing on this, it might lead me into something else, but when I was playing in that case, I don't know if you noticed, but I was playing. Oh, let me put it back on. Song set up. All right. But actually, when you're hearing more than one note. And so a lot of the instruments have a feature, what's called a harmony. Now, if you have the harmony button, I would encourage you to use it as often as possible. Because what harmony is doing is it's taking one note that you're playing and it's almost giving you like 30 years of experience in a button. And I have to tell you, depending on how the song is played, how fast the melody is, there are even professionals that have been doing it their entire life that cannot do it. Okay, so right now I'm looking at a button that says duet and trio on here. Over here there's a harmony button, and when I pull it up on the screen it says AOC, duet, rock, and octave. Some organs have just duet. Okay, so I'll very quickly give you an explanation of some of these. And by the way, since we record this, if you ever have to go back and watch or catch something I said, we'll tell you at the end how you can go back and watch all of these classes, and you can pause it and rewind, because sometimes we're taking notes, listening. We don't catch it all in one class. But a duet harmony is a very common one that most people can figure out. That when you play one note, it's playing 2 notes all the time. Okay? AOC, for Lowry people, most people know, and if you're newer to this, I'll tell you, AOC is a 3-note harmony. So when you play one note, it's playing 3 for every one note you're playing. Okay? On the Freedom 3, they call it trio, so that makes a little more sense for people. Trio meaning 3. What are the ones that I mentioned? Octave. Now, octave is interesting because some of the models have an octave feature. It's basically taking a piano, a sound that you're playing, and if you've ever seen someone playing professionally, sometimes they don't always just do 1 note or 3 notes. They do this. They're playing each note an octave apart. Well, if you have the octave harmony, it actually automatically does it for you. So, for example, I'll just put it on real quick. Put on a piano. Let's see. Piano, 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 piano. Oh, I don't want honky-tonk piano. Okay. All right. And here's the octave. So I'm going to turn it off. Okay. Now watch this when I put on the octave. So it's like me doing this. Okay, with 1 finger. So that makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? Now, sometimes the instrument will automatically set up the harmony for you, and sometimes it won't. And I will tell you this, there are some harmonies you put on that you'll play and it may not sound good. And sometimes the best way to do it is just experimenting with it. I typically don't use a harmony with a piano a lot, like a 3-part harmony, because it gets a little harsh sounding. Sometimes strings work great all the time. It just depends on which ones you use. And then play it. Now here's the other thing. With the trio or the AOC harmony, which is a 3-note harmony, a rule of thumb is be careful we're playing too low on the keyboard. Because what it does is it takes the note you're playing and it adds 2 notes below it. So if I'm playing a note here, it's going to play 2 notes below it. And the octave sometimes changes. So if your octave is like this, and you put on an AOC or trio, it's going to make it sound like this. And it starts getting muddy. So we get a lot of phone calls over the years saying, I was playing along and it kind of sounded muddy or gargly, or we hear some comment like that. And a lot of the first instinct is, what do you have set up? Do you happen to have a harmony button push? Is there an AOC? And a lot of times the answer is yes. And then there's a sound that's combined that's a lower tone. And so when you're playing it here, what happens is the notes are playing low and it doesn't sound. You just have to move your hand up an octave. Okay? Another counter for that wasn't really going to be part of the class, but I'll mention it because some of you have it, is a lot of times when I'm playing, and let's say, well, I'll stick with Spanish Eyes. I was just playing that, right? All right. Let's see. Let me put on a Rumba Ricky. Try a different Latin. Okay. So Rumba Ricky, and it's going to give me, okay, a sound like that. So I got a nice organ sound and some strings. I'm going to put on trio, and I'm going to play. That does not sound good, or at least on this side. All right, because I'm playing the notes to know, and they also have things set up here that shifts it down an octave automatically. Now I could play it up here, and it's okay. Another thing I can do is I can change what's called the transpose. So inside the instrument, you can actually transpose the organ up or down. Sometimes this is too high and sometimes this is too low, and I want something in between. So maybe what I'll do in this case is, this is too high for me. I'm going to go down, transpose it down. And now I'm going to play from here. Notice that song, I'm getting really high on the range. So if I'd have played with that harmony, it would have been too high on one side or too low on the other. So I transpose, and sometimes I do the transpose depending on what I want to hear. So if I say I want to play up high, but I don't want it to get too high when I play up here, then I transpose it down. Or maybe I want to play down here, a little lower, okay? And then I'll put the transpose on, and I'll transpose it up instead. So listen. And let's see what happens. And it doesn't sound muddy and gargly, does it? Okay? So that works on any model. And actually, over the years, because most of the songs we find in Easy Play are in the key of C or F, or sometimes G, maybe the original song was written in a different key, and we only have so much flexibility. And that's where the transposer comes in. You don't have to play it at the key it was originally in, but adjust the key that makes it work for your ears. Okay, your ears are most important. Okay? Now, I got one final thing that I'm going to do. This is pretty, and I'm going to share a few songs with it to do this. So pay very close attention to this, because this, I said earlier, this is about transforming your songs, using your styles to make it sound just a little bit different enough for you to have some fun with it, okay? Before I do, is there any questions of what I've talked about so far? Any other questions? We had some great questions here today. Sherry, any other questions before I go on? You had some great questions there.
Not yet. Give me
Okay.
time.
All right. No one else? All right, so just to recap on some of the things I talked about. We talked about rhythm styles and the variations. And your organ may not say variation, but if it says pianist or guitarist or full band, they're essentially a variation. The reason why I'm telling you that is, On the larger models, they actually have a button that says variation. And sometimes when we teach classes either online or in person, we may say using a variation or something like that. And just keep that in mind that originally pianists and full band and guitarists were variations. Lowry didn't call them that yet, and they just separated the styles that way. On the Esteys, style 2 is the variation button, okay? Style setup and rhythm, style setup or auto setup, sorry. Sets it up automatically. I would say always leave that on. So when you press a style, it'll set it up for you. Again, you have the ability, like we heard earlier when I was using one of the setups, maybe the strings were a little strong. Again, the balances that are given is what's considered to the industry standard, but sometimes I'll put on like a Broadway, and a Broadway is a big, with a bright brass sound and strings, and sometimes it's a little too bright for me, and I'll have to turn down that accompaniment, okay? Well, your ears are really the best test of what works for you. Now, I talked about songs and how you can use the songs to play along or as a setup. But there's one thing I do want to say that I didn't say this earlier, but this happens. If you use the song setup feature, remember it sets it up for that song. You can use it for other songs if you'd like. But if you use song setup, what will happen, this is really important to remember. For example, I'm going to go back to my song setup, and I'm on Silent Night. Now, right now, the organ has the auto setup button on because I had it on from earlier. The minute I select a song setup, in this case, I'm selecting the Silent Night song setup, the auto setup or style setup will turn off. And it's done intentionally. Okay, so song setup, when you use that, if you happen to have your auto or style setup button on, it will deactivate it because it's giving you a different setup. So if you're done using that, just remember, oh, I have to turn it back on again. Okay, it's very important. And guess what? That applies to every organ that has a song setup. These models, bigger models, Fanfare, Journey, Prestige, Royale, Stardust, Imperial, Marquis, every organ in the line is designed that way because song setup is designed to give you an additional setup. So it basically says, okay, now we're going this direction, okay? I'm going to leave it on that song setup. I'm going to play the same Silent Night. Now remember earlier, it sounded like this. And then I played Silent Night. I have my transpose. Let me change my transpose back. Back to normal here. Okay. All right. And then I played Edelweiss with it. But now listen. This will lead me to my last feature of the day. Okay. Now let me play just a measure or two of it. Okay. Now I'm going to play a different song using that. And tell me if you can hear something different. Here we go. If we can get rid of those high notes there, but did you notice the introduction played quite a bit differently? And here's why. I played a minor chord. That song, Greensleeves, or What Child Is This? Same song, same melody, is in a D minor chord. So there are a lot of styles, maybe not all, I'm not sure yet, but a lot of them, that if you play a minor chord, okay, it'll give you a totally different introduction. So I opened up with this style here, and Sean was saying, wow, that's great, I play that song. But here's the one I opened up with today called Groovy Latin. I played a C chord. Now, if you play the same rhythm and you put on a minor chord, watch this. It'll sound totally different. Isn't that great? So you could have some fun just going through your styles and just playing a minor chord. Now, most of the songs are in the key of C or F. So here's my suggestion. This I would write down. If the song is in the key of C, if, in other words, the song starts off in C and it doesn't say use a minor chord in the beginning, but you want a minor chord introduction, the chord that I use with it is A minor. Okay? Some people will take the C chord and turn it into a minor, and that may work. It may not sound as musically correct, however, okay? But you can do that. If the song is an F, if you have a song that starts off with an F chord and you want to use a minor introduction, play a D minor. Alternately, some people will play the F minor. But sometimes that's not musically correct, but sometimes it'll sound okay and sometimes it won't, depending on the song. And the last one that I don't get commonly is G. I would play an E minor. And if you want, you can play the G minor as well. But the C chord, a song in C, I would play A minor. A song in F, I play a D minor. And a song in G and E minor. And that's called, musically, most people refer to that as the relative minor in that key, okay? So I would just kind of write those down and have them handy and go through and play a minor chord for some of your styles. You might find some really cool things in there that you normally wouldn't use. I'll do one more and then a quick little announcement, and then I'll finish off with a wonderful song that I really like. So here's a style that, let me see here, country. Yeah, okay. So here's a style that's similar in some of the other models and on here. It's a big band. It's great. And most of the time I play big band, Glenn Miller, music before your time. But if I take that same style, I'm going to slow it down to 80 and do a minor chord. Now listen. Totally different. One closing number for you. I want to finish on a happy upbeat. Let me get it ready here. Let me see. Okay. All right. Well, last but not least, so I want to share with you a lot, because a lot of times I mention this and a lot of people, I just assume that everybody knows. And so what happens is, we'll get a phone call and they'll say, how do I get to that, and how do I do that, and et cetera, et cetera. So if I've been mentioning a website called Patreon. And what Patreon is, it's a place that we not only put all of our recorded classes and events, but we also put bonus content on there. So stuff that you normally wouldn't see on our YouTube channel. YouTube channel has a lot of great stuff on it. And our Patreon channel has everything plus bonus content. Now, there's a couple ways to get to it. If you type in your web browser, patreon.com/Fletcher Music Centers. That's patreon.com//Fletcher Music Centers. You can also get to it if you go to our website. All right. And if you go over our homepage, our website here, you'll see up at the top here, it says Connect with Us. This right here is our Facebook page. You can follow us there. Our YouTube channel, you click on there, and it'll bring you right to our YouTube channel, as you can see. And we have all sorts of great videos and bonus content, what have you, on there. And then we also have, where is the website? I lost it. That's not it. Oh, because I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so if you go here, that little line with a circle that's like a represents a P. If you click on that, it'll bring you right to our Patreon channel, and you'll see there right up at the top. It gives you advanced classes. There's 111 posts, 170 posts of intermediate. Don Casanova, 318 recorded classes so far and going. Joni Monero has 78, and there's a lot more. But the most recent is on top. You can view it at wherever view. So Don has a Happy Fingers 3, Carrie's classes, these classes that are being recorded. That is one happy student there. I had to leave that on the cover. Hope she doesn't ask for royalties. There's Don and Carrie and so forth, Joni, and you can see some of the other ones that I did, one of the shows and the concerts. And some of them will actually be blank, and it'll say, click here to unlock. That means you have to become a Patreon member. But if it's not unlocked, what you can do is watch them, and you also have the option on the screen. I'm a Patreon member myself, even though I have access to all that. But there's an option to follow us, too, so you can get to that. So it's a great way to go back and watch things a second time. You can pause it. You know, what did he say in that point in time? And then you can click on that, what have you. So that is one way. So starting next week, I did 3 versions this week. I did for the Elite touchscreen models on Tuesday. I did the intermediate models yesterday, and I did the Easy and Estey today. So starting next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, somewhere in that, I'm going to have all of those posted. So if you took good notes throughout the week, depending on which one you're at, and you wanted some other questions, or you had some more questions, or couldn't remember, it's a great place to go. So last but not least, I'm going to play a quick little number for you. I want to add on an upbeat note, something real joyful. In fact, this is called Gospel Revival Beat. Here comes that harmony. Isn't that great? Thank you very much. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. I told you earlier I had a special thing that we were going to do. I almost forgot. So every Sunday, I typically send out a email that says upcoming virtual classes and events for the week. This this Sunday, you're going to see a kind of a teaser, if you will. Let's see if I can pull this up. I'll give you, since you're here today and you're home at 6:30, 7:30 at night, I'll tell you now. I don't have the date yet, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Sometimes we have these classes and you don't think of a question, or you do and you get it, or maybe we don't get a chance to get around to it, or sometimes you think of a question after the fact, right? So let's see here. Let me click on this and pull this up. Okay. Okay. So on Sunday, you're going to see an email. It won't look like this. This is a what I call the web version. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, give me a second. Computers. You ever have a problem with a computer? No, no one here. Okay, that's why I copied the wrong thing. Okay, that looks better. All right, so you're going to see an email, and it'll be a little bit more fit in your, but it has the usual classes for the week. All right. And then it'll say, coming soon, Q&A with ... This limited series will give you the option to ask the questions you've always wanted answered. Each session will be hosted by a surprise Fletcher Club educator, and then you can click there if you're interested in attending that. It'll give me an idea if people really would like to see an event like that. And what's going to happen is we're going to have, well, you'll know in advance when the date is. Right now, I'm just kind of curious to see who'll be interested. So you'll get that email on Sunday. And it basically, we're going to have some fun with it. And that is, we'll have one of our Fletcher educators, me, Don, or one of us, and you'll get to come on, have a question, and if you have any question whatsoever that you've been wanting to answer, it doesn't matter what organ you're on, what you play on, whatever, that's a good time to do it. And we're just going to take up, 45 minutes to an hour, or maybe there aren't that many questions. Might get 30 minutes. And the thing is, if you don't have a question, join, because someone else may ask a question, you'll go, oh, I didn't think of that. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We were talking to Sean today. Sean said, I have a feeling people, they're going to take that. They're going to want to know about my private life. It says, ask any question you want. I said, that's fine. We'll leave it there. You can ask us about ourselves too. But we're going to mostly spend it on, obviously, music. But I'm sure someone's going to say, when did you start playing today? Because sometimes we like to know a lot about our background, our history, and anything you'd like. So we're going to create some fun times with it. And, of course, we'll make it mostly about music and the products. So it'll great opportunity. So we're going to we'll tease you a little bit about it, and then in about 2 weeks or so, we'll have a scheduled date. But you won't know who the artist or the educator will be until that day. You'll just have to show up on that time. So we're going to just try to have some fun with that, okay? Well, with that said, I'm officially out of things to say. I want to thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's class. At least you got one thing out of it, maybe two, maybe three, great. But if you got one thing you can put to use, and I'm looking around, I know a lot of you have more than just some of you have a bigger model, in between, small. Everything I taught today, something in here will apply to your model. So with that said, I want to say thank you. Stay safe as always. Keep playing music always, and mwah. Bye-bye, everybody.